Okay, good. So, so you have like 25 minutes, and you have 30 minutes in total, but ideally you should leave maybe 5 minutes for questions.
Okay.
So let's, without further ado, let's just get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the last session of today's Beyond IIT. And we have 3 talks for this session. The first talk is delivered by Akihiro Mizutani on computational self-testing for entangled magic states. So please take it away.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. I'm Akihiro Mizutani in Mitsubishi Electric, and today I'm going to talk about computational self-testing for entangled magic state. So this is published in this paper, and the joint work with Hiromasa Aikawa in Mitsubishi Electric and Takeuchi Tani in NTT. So I think this talk is more on the computational computer science side rather than information theory, but I hope you all of you are interested in this topic. Okay, so my talk is about self-testing, and in the self-testing there is an unknown quantum device, which is also called prover, and we don't know what's going on inside the device. So this is a completely black box. And our goal is to know the inner working of black box by only the classical verifier. So yeah, here is the classical verifier, and his computational ability is only classical. And to achieve this goal, basically the classical verifier input the classical information into the quantum device and receive the classical information from the quantum device. So by using these input and output statistics, the verifier finally finds that the quantum device prepared the quantum state psi and performed the measurement with the operator M. So in short, the self-testing is a method to certify the state and measurement in the quantum device by using only classical information. So, and in the standard self-testing protocol, there are multiple provers, at least 2 provers, which are spatially separated. And the crucial assumption underlying the standard self-testing protocol is that these provers cannot communicate with each other during the test. So such assumption is very essential because in order to certify that the quantum devices generate entanglement, we execute the test based on typically the Bell's inequality. So if the Bell inequality is violated, then we can find that the devices have non-classical correlations. But such a statement only holds if the devices are spatially separated. So if the devices can communicate during the test, any classical devices can pass such self-testing protocol. So in the standard self-testing protocol, this kind of multi-prover assumption is crucial. So to reduce the number of provers to 1 was an open program. So such a program was solved last year by this quantum paper, Metojan Bilik. So, and this paper shows that we can self-test a single quantum device. And as I said, in this case, we can no longer rely on very inequality-based self-testing because any classical prover achieves its maximum violation. So we have to consider essentially different situation. And yeah, in this paper, they, instead of assuming multiple provers, they assume a computationally bounded quantum prover. In the standard self-testing protocol, there is no such computational assumption on the provers, and the provers' computational abilities can be unbounded. But here they assume quantum computer operating in polynomial time and cannot solve the running with errors. Okay, so here LWE is short for running with errors. This is a mathematical program used in post-quantum cryptography. So, and LWE is kind of program to solve a linear equation where small secret noise is added to each equation. So very roughly speaking, we can self-test quantum state if this quantum device cannot break post-quantum cryptography. And in this paper, they showed that we can self-test Bell state, which is one of the stabilizer states. And their protocol is relying on the stabilizer test. I explained the detail about stabilizer test in the later slides. And considering the fact that the self-testing, this single device self-testing protocol is based on the stabilizer test, we can realize that it should be straightforward to extend this previous work to other stabilizer states. Quantum states are, of course, classified into stabilizer states and non-stabilizer states. And the previous work shows that the Bell state can be self-tested with a single quantum device. So, and it could be possible to extend this result to other stabilizer states, okay? But how to self-test the other class of quantum states, namely non-stabilizer states, was an open program. And basically our contribution is that we can self-test non-stabilizer states. And in particular, we focus on the CCZ magic state. So this is our contribution. And from now on, I explain our self-testing protocol for CCZ magic state. And before that, I explained the cryptographic primitive used in our protocol in the next 3 slides. The crypt primitive used in our self-testing protocol is trapdoor claw-free function families. They are constructed by Brachelski and Mahadev in 2018. So basically, if we assume that the quantum computer cannot solve LW program efficiently, then we can construct the function families F and G. So I explain the function family F first. So this is set of function pairs F0 and F1. Here K is public key of LW program. And the important property of this function is 2 to 1. This means that for any image Y, so here Y is the output of function F, and this is a bit string. For given image Y, there exist 2 preimages, X0 and X1, such that this condition holds. So for given Y, there exists the preimage from F0 and F1. And the second property is claw-free property. So this means that the quantum polynomial time prover cannot calculate the preimages from the image Y. So this means that this function is one-way function. So namely, the calculation of left to right is easy, even for the classical computer, but its inverse calculation is hard, even for quantum computer. But if we have trapdoor information, we can invert the image Y and obtain the pre-image. Okay, so the trapdoor is a piece of secret information. So this information is possessed only by the classical verifier. So classical verifier can invert the output Y by emptying the trapdoor and output and bits. Okay, so only classical verifier can invert the image Y and obtain the pre-image X. And the third property of this function family is adaptive hardware bit property. So it said that the quantum polynomial time prover is hard to output these 5 parameters from public key K such that these 2 conditions are satisfied. This means that it is hard to compute one preimage, here one preimage, and this in a product. Okay, so here D can be freely chosen by the prover. So this means that it's hard to compute one preimage and any 1-bit information about the other preimage. So this property is stronger than the aforementioned crow-free property, because if we find too close, we can violate this adaptive hardcopy property. So I explain more detail about this property when I explain our protocol. And the other function family is G. So this is also a set of two function pairs. And in contrast to the function family F, this is 1, 2, 1. Namely, there exists only one preimage such that it outputs the Y. Okay, so basically the set of outputs are completely disjoint. And the important property of this function family is injective invariance property. So it said that the quantum polytime prover is hard to distinguish between the function families from the given public key K. And like the function family F, so this function is also one-way function. So without the trapdoor information, it is hard even for quantum computer to invert the output. Okay, so using these function families F and G, we construct our self-testing protocol as follows. So recall that our goal is to self-test the CCG magic state. We want to self-test its generation and measurement performed on this state. And first, the protocol is as follows. The first step is that the classical verifier chooses 3 bits, theta 1, theta 2, theta 3, from this set. And if theta is 1, then the verifier generates the public key and trapdoor from function family F. And if theta is 0, then he generates this information from function family Z. Again, the trapdoor is of secret information, and this information is possessed by the verifier and kept secret from the prover, and only send public key to the prover via classical channel. And as I said, due to the injective invariance property here, so the prover cannot find which sheeter the verifier chooses. So sorry, here I forgot to say one. So the assumption in this explanation, I here assume the honest quantum prover. So the quantum prover executes the protocol in the honest manner. So we do not, I do not consider the malicious prover. So the honest prover prepares this state. So he calibrates the function output of the function coherently. So here B and X are input of this function. And after the prover generates this state, the prover measures the third register in the computational basis and obtain the outcome Y, so which are sent to the verifier. And after returning the Y, the remaining prover state are written like this, depending on theta. So if theta is 0, then prover's first and second register are in this product state. And if theta is 1, then the prover's state is this superposed state. So the reason for obtaining the product state when theta is 0 is that if theta is 0, the verifier chooses the function family G. And G is, 1-to-1 function. So given image phi, there exists only one preimage. So that's the reason why the prover obtained this product state. So only this XB, only this preimage outputs that Y. On the other hand, if theta is 1, the verifier uses the function family F. And recall that the function family F is 2-to-1 function. So given the image phi, there exist 2 preimages, X0 and X1. So this is the reason why we obtain this superposed state. So X0 and X1, X0 and X1 output the Y. Okay. So after prover generate this state, the verifier requests the prover to perform the Z basis measurement. Okay, and the prover measures the first and second register in the Z basis, computational basis, and return the outcomes to the verifier. Okay, so the outcomes are B and XB, and the verifier performs the check. Okay, so verifier checks if these prover's outcomes are correct or not. Okay, correct means that this B and XB satisfy this equation y equal fx, and the failure probability is denoted by PZ. This means that this is a probability of obtaining the wrong outcomes. So this procedure corresponds to the check of prover's Pauli Z basis measurement. And the verifier sometimes requests the prover to perform the X basis measurement. So this X basis measurement check is basically done when the verifier chooses theta equal to 1. And in this case, the prover measures both first and second register in the X basis and returns the X basis measurement outcome to the verifier. So specifically, if the second register is measured in the X basis, then the prover obtains the outcome D. After obtaining this D, the first qubit state is written like this. Okay, so this is either ket plus or ket minus, depending on this exponent. Okay, so this exponent is denoted by M. So of course, if we measure this state in the X basis, then we can obtain this exponent. So the provers send the verifier the first X basis measurement result and the second X basis measurement result. Okay, so and the prover performs the check of X basis measurement. Specifically, the prover uses the trapdoor information and check if these outcomes are equal to this one. Okay, so this is the honest case. So the prover always pass this check. Okay, but to consider the general case, I denote the failure probability of obtaining the wrong outcome by PX. So I make some remark about the adaptive hardcore bit property that I explained minutes ago. Again, this is the property that the quantum Polyton prover is had to output these 5 parameters such that these 2 conditions are satisfied. So this property holds for any polynomial time quantum prover. So of course, this condition holds for honest quantum prover. So honest quantum prover means the strategy that I explained so far. But the honest prover, more specifically, the honest prover satisfied either of the 2 conditions. Okay, so by measuring the state in the Z basis, then the honest prover can satisfy this left condition. On the other hand, the honest prover perform the X basis measurement, then he can satisfy the right condition. Okay, so it is easy for efficient quantum computer to satisfy either of the 2 conditions, but it's impossible to satisfy both of these conditions due to the hardness of LW program. Okay, so far I explained the checks of prover's X basis measurement and Z basis measurement. Using this kind of information, we execute the test of generation of CCZ magic state. So this is a target state in your self-testing. So this check is done when the verifier chooses theta as all 1. And after prover returns the outcomes of image Y and X basis measurement of the second qubit, second register, the prover's state is written like this blue state. Okay, so this is the 3 qubit state. 3 qubit state in the X basis eigenstate. Okay, so after prover generates this state, the prover performs the control Z operation and obtain the target CCZ magic state. And the classical verifier requests the prover to perform the generalized stabilizer test. And the prover measures each of the 3 qubits with the generalized stabilizer and obtain the outcome V. And the prover returns these outcomes to the verifier. Okay. So, and using the trapdoor, the verifier checks these outcomes are correct. Okay. So, and P denotes the failure probability of obtaining the wrong outcomes. Okay, so I explain more about this generalized stabilizer test. So of course, the CCZ magic state is not a stabilizer state. So this state cannot be stabilized by Pauli operator. But of course, any pure state, psi, is stabilized by some Hermitian operators. And so I call these Hermitian operators generalized stabilizers. And we denote them GI. Okay, so GI is written like this. And specifically, the generalized stabilizers of CCZ magic state are G1 and G2 and G3, and G1 is written as X tensor CZ. And G2 and G3 are the similar operator, where X is, the position of X is shifted to the second and third qubit. And the generalized stabilizer test means that the verifier checks the measurement outcomes of these generalized stabilizers. But here, there is a CZ in the generalized stabilizers. So by naively thinking, if we measure the outcomes of this generalized stabilizer of this CCZ magic state, 2 qubit gate is needed. Okay, so but this is not, such a 2 qubit gate is not needed by using this PRX paper. Okay, so the crux of this paper is to decompose the generalized stabilizers into the Pauli operators and projectors. And the prover measured each qubit in the Pauli basis. Okay, so specifically, the prover measures the first qubit in the X basis, and the second and third qubit in the Z basis. And the prover obtains the outcomes V. And the prover sends the outcomes to the verifier. Okay, so, and verifier checks whether this condition holds. Here, M is the bit information that verifier only knows. So if this condition holds, the verifier finally finds that the prover generates the state, which is the +1 eigenstate of X tensor CZ. So using only the Pauli operator, Pauli measurement, we can measure the generalized stabilizer of CCZ magic state. And as I explained, the verifier checks the Z and X basis measurement. And using this information, verifier knows how accurately the prover performed the generalized stabilizer measurements. So by checking the outcomes of generalized stabilizers, the verifier finally finds the distance, lower bound on the distance of rho and target state. So here rho is the general prover's state after returning the information of D. So, okay, so now I explain our main result. So I explained the theorem. The previous failure probability of Z and X basis measurement and generalized stabilizer measurements are denoted by these parameters. And we denote the previous Hilbert space by H. Okay, so in this setting, there exists an isometry V and some quantum states theta and constant R, such that for any general prover state rho, the following two statements hold. Okay, so as for the result of the self-testing of state, by running the protocol, the verifier finally finds the upper bound on the trace distance between the previous state and the ideal state. Here, V is the isometry that corresponds to the extraction operation of 3 qubit. Okay, And this P can be obtained by running the protocol many times. So if the prover's behavior deviates from the ideal behavior more and more, then this probability gets larger, and hence this upper bound is also larger. Okay, so as for the result of self-testing of state and measurement, by running the protocol verifier finally finds the difference of these two probabilities, upper bound on the difference of these probabilities. Okay, so this probability this is a distribution of outputting the outcome V when prover measures the state according to the request parameter Q. So this is the actual probability, and the right one is the ideal probability. So this is a probability of outputting outcome V when the target CCZ magic state is measured in the Z or X spaces according to this request parameter Q. Okay, so I wrap up my talk. Our contribution is that using the crypto technique, trapdoor growth-free function families, we revealed that one of the non-stabilizer state, CCZ magic state, can also be self-tested with a single quantum device setting. I end my talk with some future work. The first future work is to self-test the state where all the Pauli operators appear in their generalized stabilizers. Okay, so if only X and Z appear in the generalized stabilizer, I think it's single device self-testing. It seems possible, but it seems difficult to solve this program because we have trapdoor growth-free function families. That's a composed of only two function families, F and G. So another future work is to self-test in non-IID scenario. So here we assume the previous behaviors is the same for each repetition. So, but it's of course interesting to consider whether it is possible to extend to non-IID scenario by using the definitive theorem or one-shot self-testing. Okay, so this is the end of my talk, and thank you for your attention.
Thanks for the very nice talk. So is there any question in the audience? If you have any question, just
hello. I have a question.
Yeah.
So you use flow-free function. So I want to understand its definition, and also what is flow?
Flow means there exist two preimages that output the same Y. This is a flow. Yeah.
Kind of collision.
Yeah, yes.
Collision free in something.
Yeah. In other words, yes. And are you interested in the definition of trapdoor growth-free function families?
Sir, Professor Hayashi, do you have more to ask?
Okay, I understand. Okay.
Yes. Is there any other question? Maybe I was just wondering, so what is, at some stage you mentioned that you assume the prover is honest, right? So can you just elaborate a bit more, like what would happen if the prover is not honest? Or, like what's the thing that kind of makes proof won't work?
Okay, so for in the protocol description, I assume that the prover is honest, but I'm sorry. this result holds for any quantum polynomial time prover. So yeah.
So don't really have to assume that.
Yeah.
In some sense. Okay, great. Is there any more question? I think if not, we can let's thank the speaker again, and we kind of proceed to the next.
Okay.